I would greatly treasure a counter argument, stark you otherwise, against the iconoclast position. Right. So against what's iconoclast? Iconoclasts are those who think that the second commandment is statues are bad. That's what an iconoclast is. And so what they do is within Christianity, they do not allow for statues. Hence the crucifix, bad, right? Crazily, my hearsay understanding from way back in the day is that some of this has to do with how Rome doesn't mind statues and the East only does the icons. But if you want to really get into legalism, you can chase that thread for no reason. The iconoclast position really is no graven image. But see, this is just it. You end up splitting hairs immediately. Do you mean no graven image? Or do you mean no image you might bow down to and worship as though it were a god, right? Only statues? Or do, in fact, icons, right, flat images count as well? I'll continue the question. I'll come back and deal with it. I have heard iterations of the counter-argument is crazy. Luther had the normative principle. Therefore, we do too, QED. I'm not familiar with that. And also, well, if you can't make a picture of Jesus, you can't make any art whatsoever. Can you draw a flower? Well, hold on. No, that's the point. So you just kind of dismiss that, I think. The point is not that you can't draw pictures of Jesus. If you're going to say that the second commandment is no graven images, it's no graven images. This is my answer to this. I'm sorry if you don't like it. Turn off your TV. If you want to make the second commandment about not looking upon the things of creation so as to potentially worship them, turn off the TV. Stop taking pictures. You hypocrite. You really want to be an iconoclast? Be one. Go have a room with no images on it. You know who does this? Muslims. Now, I think they still have their TVs on. The TV's going to win them over. The Kronos, through his son, Wayland the Smith, otherwise known as Hephaestus, and his technology, he is winning the day. He is making religions fall left and right because we don't even think twice about this glowing screen of death. I love it, by the way. I'm never going to give it up, I don't think. But prior to that, and the smartphone, in Islamic culture, hardcore Islamic religion, you don't get to draw a picture of a flower. Dome of the Rock, you ever seen the inside of the Dome of the Rock? They're such marvelously good hypocrites because they wanted to have art in their building that they drew with texts of the Quran everywhere and things that could never actually be images of something like a cow, right? Swirls instead. Formless art of words is gorgeous, and it's hypocrisy. It's the same hypocrisy. You're trying to get around the law. If the law is you're not supposed to make some other image by man's hands to convince you that it's in God's place, then you're not supposed to do it. And all the images will become that eventually. Now, the answer for the Lutherans is, I don't know about Luther's normative principle. I have no idea about that. Our answer is that the commandments are what the commandments are. And it's pretty straight up. You're not supposed to have any other gods, including the kind you would make a graven image of and bow down to it and worship it. And frankly, that would go for your TV too. It would go for your TV and your bank account and your car. All these things. Car's a graven image, by the way. Now, all the more. It's a graven image of an Autobot. Are you kidding me? Jeez. If you have a car, you worship the Autobots. So, do you see what I'm really getting at here, though? Like, if you're going to be against images because you think that's what the Bible says, well, then you need to be against images because you think that's what the Bible says. And if you are not going to be against images because you think that's what the Bible says, then you cannot be against statues. It's just, you got to have one way or the other. I like the East's approach to this as well, recognizing that Christ, the Creator, when he enfleshed himself, he is the image, the icon, the living statue of the invisible Creator, and his image, if nothing else. We don't have a picture of his face. You can go Shroud of Turin if you want. You probably do, don't you? Do you, John? Do you think the Shroud of Turin's a real thing? Do you like that picture? Think that actually is what Jesus looked like? I don't, by the way. But fine. But that's that is idolatry. That is iconophy, right? That's not iconoclasm. You got to get rid of that thing. You got to burn that thing. I think of all the things, we don't have a plaster mask of Jesus' face. What we do have is the image of the invisible God as a man doing what he needed to do, because you don't need a face to show a crucified body on a cross. The one place that in theory could not be an idol, although we can make it an idol if we want to. You can make an idol out of anything. But the one place that's awful hard to make an idol out of is the crucifix of Jesus Christ. It's awful hard to make an idol out of that one. I'm trying right now. I'm actually touching mine. I kissed it the other day. I really did. Because when I look at the crucifix, I don't feel ashamed. That's a really powerful thing. And I don't think it's the wood. I really don't. I guess so. If on the last day, Jesus is like, well, you should have been ashamed all along. I didn't, in fact, save you. And it was my death that you kept thinking about when you looked at that crucifix and praying toward me in my ascension as the Trinitarian mediator between God and man. None of that counted because it was made of wood and had my face on it. It's total blasphemy. You should have read the commandments from Sinai, Jonathan, and ignored the New Testament a little bit more. So iconoclasm. I don't know. It's like all the dangerous paths of pietism, like all the dangerous paths of legalism, it seems like a clever biblical one-verse argument until you take it to its actual, eventual, logical conclusion. If God said, don't make a graven image, in a time when the only way to make an image was a graven image, unless you're going to draw in the sand, well, then he said, don't make an image.